Hi, my name is Lorenzo Lynberg. I'm a student at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I'm in my final quarter of my MBA program, and over the past year, I've been working with Dr. Ahmed Deif on this research. He's a supply chain expert, and I've been involved in the blockchain space since 2016. So we wanted to fuse our two expertises because there's significant literature explaining the theoretical benefits that blockchain has in supply chain, but not a whole lot of actionable kind of principles or theory. So in order to do that, we decided to summarize and integrate these different relationships that are described in the literature into this cost model. We thought that that would be a valid way of bridging this gap between theory and practicality by kind of modeling different scenarios of implementing blockchains. So in order to do that, we created a model mapping these different cost variables, different benefit variables with equations to this overarching kind of net benefit. And so here's an example diagram of how this kind of works at a simple, smaller level. In terms of the methodology, we mapped different variables kind of over and over again, trying to figure out, what should we try to like look for? And we can actually skip ahead here just to the general causal logic that this was the first kind of map that we made. And a lot of the stuff is just kind of ideation and it disappears, but we did find evidence on the relationship between collaboration and trust in a supply chain context, and how that's very influential in creating this competitive advantage. And we tied that kind of trust element to something that blockchains could provide, and explored it from there. We ended up at this model. I'll go through it quickly. Our poster that we posted online has a more detailed description. I'd encourage you to read. But basically, there's these three input variables. We'll talk about them that influence these cost elements on the left side and these benefit elements on the right side. The three input variables are the degree of supply chain digitization. So what is the level of blockchain that's being applied? Is it like first tier, second tier, third tier? And those tiers kind of map to this research we found by Yanciti and Lakhani on those different use levels of digitization. The other two are pretty self-explanatory, although we do want to figure out what aspect of firm size relates to these specific benefits or costs that the system exhibits. Is it the revenue? Is it the number of people, number of divisions? So that's worth noting. Here, the cost side is essentially an information system adoption. So there's a high implementation cost, ongoing expenses for running the system. Those are dependent on the firm size, dependent on how complex the process is, or the blockchain is, and shared costs if they're in a consortia or association. That is a recurring theme in the blockchain space. On the benefit side, you can see the collaboration and trust variables with a little the blockchain aspect, the smart contracts and supply chain information visibility. We map to phenomena in literature of supply chain literature that kind of are beneficial, cost advantageous. And so those also feed into the trust and kind of this building trust and next maybe potential levels of collaboration, that cycle that we identified in the first model. You can see that we also have the increase in the customer willingness to buy. That is something that's sometimes industry specific, such as with luxury goods or with food items for traceability, for fair trade practices. And so those feed into the savings, and the previous smart contracts and supply information visibility kind of feed into this integration of with the firm size and with the network size that are influential in the benefits to be derived. So here's the overarching model again. Like I said, a lot more detailed explanation in our poster, and even more in the paper that we've been working on. But basically, a main idea behind the benefits is that we observed a lot of phenomena that could have these network effects in terms of the multiple tiers of a supply chain or the many smart contracts interacting with each other. That's a phenomenon that blockchains exhibit, we found. So in essence, we just need to validate our model. We need to send out a survey in order to get actionable data and kind of assign more concrete quantitative functions to these relationships. So that survey, like I mentioned, we're still working on, and we are looking forward to any discussion in the Slack channel, because we really do need feedback and want to kind of make this a collaborative effort, because that is the nature of the space, I believe, and I think open source and those even network effects manifest on that level. So any feedback is so greatly appreciated, and we are really looking forward to hearing about your research and seeing what you guys have been doing. Thanks. Have a good one. Here are our resources, references.